So welcome to today's episode of Everyday Alex, and I am super excited to be announcing a super conference. So if you saw last year's Fatigue Super Conference, I know a number of you really got a lot from that event, and also really liked that format where I went out and interviewed, I think it was about 40 of the world's leading experts on fatigue. I wanted to go again. So this year I've been putting together with Nikki Gratrix, who was the one of the co-founders of the Optimal Health Clinic with me back in 2004, the Trauma and Mind Body Super Conference. And it really is, I think, a super conference, and I'll come to in a little bit the reasons why I think that's the case. But before I talk a bit about the event, I want to say a few words around trauma, because you might at this point be thinking, well, Alex, I got the Fatigue Super Conference because I have fatigue, but why trauma? I don't have trauma. Well, one of the things we get into in this event in a lot of detail from a lot of different perspectives is we all have trauma. Trauma is not just, significant events like being physically abused or sexually abused, or being in a war zone, or being in a car accident. Trauma is when we have an overload of too many stresses or pressures at any one moment in our life. Trauma can be, as a child, not getting all of our emotional needs met in the way that we needed to. Trauma can be the lessons that we're not quite good enough as we are. There are so many different kinds of trauma, but trauma has an enormous impact on our emotional body, but also on our physical body. In fact, it's a major part of healing and processing trauma in its many ways. It's a major part of many people's healing journeys, from things like ME, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. One of the major things causing, for example, an overactivated nervous system or a maladaptive stress response is trauma. It's all of those events, things that have happened to us, and actually, more importantly, how it's shaped how we're wired, how we respond, how we are as a person in our life now. So I wanted to go deep into this subject. So for me, from a selfish point of view, one of the things that I really like about doing these online conferences is I get to come up with a sort of wish list of all the people that I would like to have dialogue with and talk to about a subject. And then I get to ask them all the questions that I want to ask them. So for me, partly what it is a sort of playground and a research process, but also very much in my mind is, of course, you guys as a community and audience, and what are the things that I think it would be helpful for you to hear, and who do I think are the people that can articulate and communicate in a way which is going to be helpful and going to be useful in your life. So as Nikki and I were shaping and coming up with this conference, we had a sort of dream list, let's say, of people that we wanted to get. People like Dr. Gabor Mate, who has written some of the biggest selling books on the subject out there. When the Body Says No, particularly, is a very famous book around trauma and chronic health issues. People like Professor Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps the Score, which is an enormous best-selling book on trauma. Dr. Stephen Porges, who's the founder of polyvagal theory, which I talk about things like the Reset program. And then some of the leading functional medicine experts talking about the impact of trauma on the body and how physical imbalances also can be a cause of trauma. People like Dr. Datis Kharrazian, people like Dr. Tom O'Brien. The list is so long; it's almost hard to remember. But we had this sort of dream list of people, and you sort of assume when you do something like that maybe 1 in 2 people that you reach out to you're going to get. Well, we got almost every single person that we approached. There are around 90 world leading experts on trauma as part of the Trauma and Mind Body Super Conference. They are some of the most fascinating dialogues that I've certainly ever been part of. There are some very moving interviews. There are some very inspirational interviews. There are some very, very practical interviews in terms of things to be able to put into action. So the Trauma and Mind Body Super Conference is from the 29th of June to the 5th of July. So it's running for a 7-day period. There's going to be around a dozen or so sessions each day. So it's quite a lot bigger than the event that I did last year. And each day is themed. So we have a couple of days on the mind-body connection. We have a day on the brain and nervous system connection. We have a couple of days looking at functional medicine. We have a day on energetic approaches, and we have a day on social and developmental approaches. And it's completely free to register to join the event live. And then each day for 7 days, you'll get free access for 24 hours to those sessions of that day. And if you want to buy ongoing lifetime access, you can do so for a very low cost. Particularly, the conference is double the size of last year and the price is the same as last year. So we've really tried to make this as accessible as we possibly can. We also have, because the event's so big and we've just wanted to give away some stuff sooner rather than later, 7 of the very best sessions in the conference are available now as registration gifts. So if you sign up for free with your email address now, you will immediately get access to those sessions. And those sessions, some of the highlights there, I recorded just yesterday an interview with Dr. Gabor Mate that I mentioned. And the editor, one of the editors, the main editor, Miranda, was saying it's her favourite interview, and this, Alex, this has to be available to everyone. And I said, I'm glad you said that because it's one of the registration gifts. Nikki did an interview with Professor Bessel van der Kolk. It's also amazing. Again, one of the outstanding interviews on the conference. Nikki and I have also done sessions, recorded sessions. I did a session talking about emotional styles, one of the most popular modules in the Reset program. And I wanted to, I haven't shared these ideas publicly outside of that program before, and I wanted to share those. I also told some very vulnerable stories, and after recording it I had to have a quiet think about whether I wanted to share it. I then sent it to Miranda to edit, and she's never said this to me. She's edited all of the Reset content, all of the therapeutic coaching program content, all of the Fatigue Super Conference, and she's never WhatsApped me before and said, I've just finished editing and I was crying while I was editing, it was so moving. So I think I'm pretty proud. I tell the story of my relationship with my father, and it was been a very difficult relationship, but talk about how that set up my own relationship with my emotions. So I feel a little nervous putting it out there, but I put it out there because I think the ideas in there are really important, and I wanted to give some real context to some of these ideas. We also have in the registration gifts Nick Ortner, who is the founder of the Tapping Summit. I think it's pretty much the biggest online conference each year, teaching tapping, EFT. Dr. Joseph McCullough, the founder of, I think, pretty much the largest natural health website in the world, talking about how you can support your immunity with the challenges around COVID. So these registration gifts alone they're awesome. So you can register now, you will get immediate access to those, and for the 7 days of the event, you will get access to those interviews each day. And of course, I would love it if you wanted to buy lifetime access. That's ultimately what pays for all of this to be available for everyone. So yeah, I would love you to do that if you want to support us and if you want to have ongoing access. So yeah, I'm super proud. It's always a little, it's always a sort of big moment. This is the first announcement about the event. There will be over the coming month. It's pretty much exactly, I think it's exactly a month today, at time of recording. The first day will happen. It's always a little kind of nerve-wracking putting these things out there. I'd love your kind of comments and feedback. Please share this as widely as you can. If you've ever thought about, I'd love so-and-so to have more access to some of these ideas that have really helped me, this is a great entry point. These interviews, they're accessible. There, as I say, 7 of the best ones are freely available immediately. So yeah, spread the words, get registered now, get access to the free gifts, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting, it's going to be exciting sort of few months with yeah, getting the word out on this, people joining the events, and I can't wait to hear the feedback from people. So that's why I've been a little inconsistent on some of the uploads, but there's been an enormous amount of work in producing this, in filming all of these interviews, prepping all these interviews. I've got a whole pile of new books I've had to read over the last 6 months or so in preparation. I like that challenge, but yeah, I can't wait to get this out there. So thanks for watching. There should be some regular episodes of Everyday Alex next week. There certainly will be another Therapeutic Tuesday on Tuesday. And yeah, get registered. Thanks for watching.